onlinechesslessons.net. In this video, I'm gonna analyze a game of round 4 between Grandmaster Aronian against Grandmaster Anand. The game we're gonna see, it's quite exciting, so let's see. After d4, d5, c4, c6, we get the Slav defense. White plays knight f3, knight f6, knight c3, and here black decides to play the semi-Slav defense. He can also try playing d takes c4, which is the main line of the Slav defense. Here white usually plays a4 to stop b5, and then black plays bishop f5, and this is the main position of the Slav defense. And he can also try playing a6 here, which is the Chevanenko variation. And e6, it's also great, and I had the chance of playing this e6 myself a lot of times. After e3, white plays, let's say this is the solid variation. White can also try playing bishop g5, which is more active, and of course white wants to play e3, but he wants his bishop out of the pawn chain. Here black has some possibilities, such as taking on c4, and after e4, b5, we get the famous Botvinnik system. And black can also try playing h6, which is called the Moscow variation. So, okay, after e3, knight bd7, bishop d3, d takes c4, bishop takes c4, and b5, we get what it's called the Meran variation. And okay, bishop d3, and here comes an important moment. I think black has some options here. Bishop d6 is what Anand plays in this game, and it's the move I like better. And he can also try playing, for instance, a6. When black plays a6, his idea is to play c5 as soon as possible, so he frees his position. And when he plays bishop b7, he tries playing b4 and then playing c5 as well. By playing this, again, black is freeing his position. What I like about bishop d6 is that black is ready to face e4 with e5. By playing this, we control white's center quite well. And by playing bishop d6 as well, we are ready to castle quickly as black. So that is why I like bishop d6. White castles, black castles as well, queen c2. Well, this move makes a lot of sense. White is attacking h7, and he's attacking c6 as well. By the way, in this position, c6, I think is black's weakest piece, right? And that is why we say that black achieves equality when he gets c5, because if he plays c5, he's getting rid of his weak c6 pawn, and he's freeing his position. So yeah, black plays bishop b7 and a3. I had the chance of playing this position myself against Grandmaster Moisenko, and in this position I played a6. My idea was to play c5, and then again, when we play c5, it's like we get equality, or maybe more, because our bishops are gonna be quite strong. And by the way, as you can see, white's bishop on c1 is not that great yet, because it's inside the pawn chain. These two bishops are like outside the pawn chain. They have free diagonals in case black plays c5, of course. So when I play a6 here, I want to play c5. Then white plays b4, and then I played a5. Very interesting maneuver, playing a6 first and then playing a5. Rook b1, takes, and queen e7. Black attacks the b4 pawn, and white defends it by playing e4. If I take the pawn now, he'll play e5, attacking the knight, and then he's taking the h7 pawn. So black plays e5. That was the idea of bishop d6 from the beginning. So here white plays knight e2. Very interesting. Uh, White doesn't care about b4 much, but he'll have strong counterplay. And by the way, if black takes here, he can also consider taking here on e5, since black can take this pawn, right? Because bishop b4 is hanging. So that is why this maneuver, it's great. I think I played c6 in this game, and eventually this game was a draw. It was quite complicated, and you can find more games with this 92 knight c3 idea. And as you'll see, this whole line, it's quite rich in possibilities, so that's why I like it. And as you'll see, this game proves it, right? I mean, this line is full of tactics and possibilities for both sides. Queen c2, okay, bishop b7 here, a3. Here, for instance, instead of a6, which I think is one of the most popular moves, Anand plays rook c8, which makes a lot of sense too, right? Because we are placing the rook in the same file of the queen. So this makes a lot of sense as well. Here, white plays knight c5, which is attacking h7. What happens if white plays something like rook d1? Maybe here, apart from, let's say, a6, which looks like a decent move, uh, the advantage of black is that he can try playing something like c5 immediately. I'll show you a variation just to show the idea. If he plays knight takes b5, for instance, we can take on f3 first, then we are destroying white's king side, and then something like this. Here, I think black's counterplay is more than enough. White's got the bishop pair, but just to show a variation and to see that black has a lot of possibilities here. If you don't like defending, you won't like this position as white. So uh, that is why maybe white plays knight c5 here. And yeah, white, he's attacking h7, but maybe you'll have the question here, what happens if black goes bishop takes h2? Well, this is a very known line. Usually, white's idea in this line is to play with uh, down a pawn, right? But he'll play with a powerful center and a pair of bishops, which is a very nice advantage. And it's nice to say here that knight takes e3. It's not working because after a move like queen f2, maybe, yeah, I think white is just winning the piece. And if the knight goes back, we can play something like this. And here maybe we can also try, apart from bishop e3, maybe queen f2 as well. Despite being down a pawn, I think white's possibilities are much, much better. Without queens, we'll have the chance of advancing 2 at kingside. We'll have 2 powerful bishops. This bishop on b7, as you know, is not a great bishop. Here is like a tall pawn crashing into c6 and b5. So that is why this line, bishop takes h2. I don't like it as black. I mean, I don't like playing an endgame without the bishop pair. So here, black plays c5, which is kind of surprising. Uh, I know that if we play something like h6, Then I think white was looking for a position like this, maybe knight e4, then knight takes, attacking the bishop, and after bishop e7, then b4. I think white is better here because if he blockades on c5, then as we said, this bishop on b7 won't be good enough. Something like, f5, knight c5, knight takes, pawn takes. Position looks like equal, but difference is we'll have two powerful bishops as white, and bishop b7 again, pretty hard to go out. So from the positional point of view, this is much, much better for white. So I guess Aronian was looking for a position like this, but this c5, it's quite unexpected. Black will play with activity and sacrificing as much as he can. As we'll see, c5, here white has some possibilities. First of all, the first move we look at is taking on h7 with the bishop, I think. Then king h8. And here we'll see that black has a lot of threats, such as taking here. We'll see knight c4 is also a threat. h2 is hanging, the knight on c5 is hanging as well. The other very logical threat here is c6, trapping the bishop. Checking this position with the computer, you'll see that the move is d5 for white, but it's really hard to find it, right? The trick is that if black takes on d5 with the knight, here comes a funny move for white, bishop c8, and then, queen h7, it's quite hard to stop. And I mean, if king takes, then queen h7 mate. Uh, the same happens if queen takes c5, queen h7 mate. And looks like white is going to take on f7. This is quite complicated, but I guess should be better for white. I think black should just retake on d5 with the pawn. This makes much more sense. And after, let's say, queen f5, trying queen h3, c6, queen h3, king c7. This is quite complicated for white since this bishop is not going to play anymore. Rook h8 is coming. Black has a powerful center and the pair of bishops quite strong as well. So I don't think this is a good option for white from the practical point of view, right? So I guess that is why he played knight takes h7, attacking two pieces at the same time, but here comes knight c4, attacking h2, and here white decides to play f4. I would like to say here that white can also try, for instance, h3, which looks pretty logical, but black can continue his attack with queen h4. Uh, Here, if white plays knight takes rook, for instance, then queen takes h3, it's quite strong. We threat a lot of mates, and if he plays this one, then bishop h mate. Again, we see the power of the bishops, pretty strong for black. So here, after h3, queen h4, the only chance for white is to play f4 right here. And here, well, it would be very interesting to see what Anand would have played here. I guess there are a lot of options for black, such as he takes d4. And another idea I like so much, it's, knight df6. If white takes the rook, we simply play queen c3 with threat mate. And as you'll see, it's not easy to stop queen h2 mate. Rook d1 looks like the only move to me. Queen king f1, queen h1. King has to come here. Queen c2. King e1 is the only move again. And here, black mates with queen c1. If king e2, we'll just play queen f2 mate. And if he plays bishop f1, queen c, king e2, queen f2. After king d3, uh, black plays c, which is mating, and this is such a nice position. I bet there are positions like this, possibilities like this. In this line, we'll find much more, I guess. So here, in this game, white plays f4, and here black just takes on d4. Well, now the rook is also gonna help, and white decides to take on d4. Uh, if he takes on f8, I guess black can take it like the positional point of view. I mean, bishop takes, and after it takes, we can just play knight here. You'll see we are down an exchange, but it's not easy to defend the d4 pawn, and we'll have a lot of threats around the king. Actually, if he tries something like queen e2, bringing more pieces to kingside, we can queen takes d4 check, and after king h1, then the rook comes to h5, and then we mate him. It's really hard to stop this bishop on b7 pressure. For instance, if we play something like h3, we can still play rook h5, followed by rook takes h3. This is too much for white. So I guess e takes d4 looks like a better try. And again, here comes an unexpected move, bishop c5. Uh, here, well, black creates more threats, and yeah, white plays bishop e2. Really hard again to suggest a move for white here. If he plays this one, I guess bishop takes e4 is great, and after this queen h4. Again, we'll see he can't defend his mate. He can't play g3 because the bishop is there, and if he plays h3, we'll just with queen takes h3. So as you'll see in so many variations, he can't take the rook. And if he takes here, black will just retake. And here we'll see we have a lot of pieces here. And I don't think white can stop knight f2. I think black is gonna take his material back and he'll get a much better position since white is lacking development here. So none of these variations are great for white. Bishop e2 looks interesting. In some variations, you'll see that after knight takes, white will have the queen h7 resource, but again comes a bomb, right? Knight d5, quite unexpected. This is a terrible play. I mean, great, right? After knight d5, uh, if bishop takes g4, this is what white played. Let's see the options, right? First of all, d4 it's under attack. If he takes the bishop, then queen d4, king h1, knight f2 check, and here white has two choices. If king g1, then the famous mate, and after knight f2 takes, then queen takes. There's no way to stop queen takes g2 and its mate. This bishop is under a pin, and eventually if white plays bishop f3, there's no need to take the queen because queen f1 mate too. So yeah, I think here taking the bishop is not an option, but if we take the knight, then comes queen takes d4, king h1, and here comes a great mate, king g1, rook takes is the only move, and knight f2 as well. So this knight d5, it's great. I don't know what to say. I mean, this game is brilliant. Bishop takes g4, bishop takes d4 check. So now, yeah, we got rid of that double threat. We give a check, king h1, and knight takes g4. Again, we will see that we have the same threats we had at the beginning, queen h4, queen h3, and white plays knight takes f8. Here looks like right now white can survive, especially if we try queen h4. We threat mate, and we know that if he plays h3, we'll still make queen takes h3. But the problem is, after queen h4 here, white can play queen h7, and by playing this, okay, he's offering some material back, but as you know, without queens the attack is not that great. So here the pressure would be much less for white. So here comes a really brilliant move too, f5. Now the queen can't come to h7. So here, this threat, it's not easy to stop it. Knight g6, queen f6. Quietly, black is going to improve here till he mates white. And h3. Queen takes g6. If white takes, we just play queen h6 and we still mate him. And here, white tries to bring the queen to the defense. So here comes queen h5. Again, we threat queen takes h3 mate. White can move the king, and if he tries rook f3, which looks like the only way of stopping this, I like this move. And after rook takes, we mate playing queen takes h3, king g1, queen takes g2. Again here, this is a nice picture of the power of the bishops. Uh, and after queen d3, which is what white played in this game, here comes bishop e3, blockading the queen's action. And here white resigns because there is no way to stop queen takes h3. After queen takes h3, king g1, mates with queen takes g2. So yeah, I like this game so much, and it's a very nice example of this line as well. And obviously, this line needs more investigation. We'll see that if this sacrifice is working or not. But anyway, this game again, I really like it the way Black played it, and I hope you enjoyed this. And I'll see you in next videos. Have fun.